If you are new to our channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Garden Radio Show with your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
You can certainly give us a ring, jam your fingers in phones. If you've got a question about gardening, you can do that for the IV Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard hotline.
Yeah, you can call 414-444-5250. IV Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard naturally protects plants against damaging sunburn, insects, and rodents, protects newly installed plants and trees, shields pruned and damaged surfaces for use on your roses, fruit, and nut trees, ornamental trees, and shrubs. This product is non-toxic, environmentally safe, and organic. For more information, visit ivorganics.com. That's 414-444-5250.
Pat emailed us, and you can do that. You can send us an email. You can send us a tweet, twvgshow@gmail.com. We've got different questions came in on all social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, email. Pat emailed us and said, I have a question here about pole beans. This is the first time I'm planting them, and they're getting really tall but have very few white blossoms on it. And they're not developing yet. Somebody told me you should cut the tops off. Please help. Well, you don't want to cut the tops off or the growth tips off of your pole beans. The reason for that is if you decide to cut the tops or the growth tips off, it's not going to develop more beans on the plant. What's going to occur is the plant's going to get bushier, put more leaves on it because it's getting stress from the top, and it's not going to so you're going to have much more lush plant, but not very many beans. Pole beans take 70 to 80 days to reach maturity. Then they begin to develop their fruit, and they'll produce all the way till frost. So the best thing to do is be patient, wait until the fruit begins to, or the beans begin to develop, and then harvest them regularly. If you continue to harvest them regularly, then the plant will continue to produce. If you leave them alone and they get large and mature, the plant will shut down and die because the reproductive cycle is already complete. So keep that in mind. Another question here came in, or more of a comment, in regards to basics of making tomato whole canned tomatoes. I really appreciate, Holly, that you show your mistakes and what can happen in the canning process.
So what had happened was that we did a video on canning whole tomatoes, and we made a mistake. We didn't make the jars hot before we put the hot tomatoes in there, and then before we put the hot stuff into the hot water. And so what happened is that cool jar, between the combination of the hot tomatoes in the jar and then putting it into the hot water, it basically cracked the bottom of the jars. Joy and I we put one jar and we heard this like popping noise almost, and we're like, that's weird, what's that? I don't know. So then we put another one in, and then we realized that we were breaking jars. So definitely we make mistakes too.
And the conclusion of that comment was, it really helps when starting out. I've had a lot of success with your awesome recipes, which, Holly, you've gotten from reliable sources, Ball, National Home for Food Preservation, SB Canning, especially your apple butter, pear butter, etc. Your jams, you are an angel. So that's
that's so nice.
Yeah, it's very nice. You can follow all of those. Just go to the website and specifically type in the search bar what you want to look for on your basics, or canning what you grow, and there's 45 different recipes that you can pick from. Real quick here, my plants are doing terrific in my straw bale garden, but they are collapsing as they decompose, and there's an orangey, powdery substance. What is it? Well,
it's called dog vomit fungus.
It's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. It's just, it happens on organic mulch as well. Okay. So,
all right.
Yeah, so that's one thing. We looked it up, and if you have that issue, definitely look it up and see if the pictures compare to what you have.
It's not bad.
No.
But you just don't want to just leave it alone. It'll go away on its own.
Yeah.
Fire blight on my apple tree. Can you help me with that? Well, first of all, fire blight is a disease that affects apples and pears and some other members of that family. It's a serious disease that pear and apple producers are concerned with because it can eradicate an entire orchard over a growing season. There is some ways in which you can control it. You want to select a variety that's resistant to that if you can. Avoid heavy pruning and over-fertilization in the nitrogen levels, as this would increase growth if you're in an area where it's more susceptible. Avoid planting close to wild plants of the hawthorn of apple or pear. As soon as fire blight is discovered, you can prune off the infected branches 1 foot below the diseased section and then burn those to prevent any further infection. You want to dip your cutters, your pruners, in a 10% mixture of alcohol and bleach between each cut so you don't infect new cutting areas. Early application of liquid copper fungicide is effective against this problem. You want to follow the recommended mixture rates on that. There are other different applications in which you can get this, but if you think you've got some problems with your plants, look up fire blight and see if the images match what the problems you're having are, and then follow the recommended rates and advice that you're finding to get rid of the infected parts of the particular tree. In regards to your how to make kombucha segment a couple of weeks ago, I make a lot of kombucha and I have a lot of SCOBY. I have read that you can dehydrate it in a food dehydrator and give it to your dog as a treat. Is this true? Yes, it is. You can dehydrate it and they enjoy it very much so. If you have animals, chickens, goats, pigs, that type of thing, they'll eat it. It's got a high level of vitamin B. You can also bury it in your garden or your compost pile, and it will do the same thing. You can also divide it, which is what we would recommend if you can encourage your friends and family to brew their own kombucha. That's the best way to do it. Create the SCOBY yourself, and then or buy one, and go that route. Now, not everybody likes kombucha, so you want to make it and see if they like it first, and then you can encourage them to brew their own. I've taken it to some friends, and they were not at all fond of the taste. I guess it's an acquired taste. There's a lot of great health benefits to kombucha, and if you don't like to make it, maybe you can find a flavor at the store that you do like, and you can get the benefits there. We are out of time.
For more information, please visit the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com.